Chapter 19, The Ancient Enemy. As Joel put his arm around Rachel and anticipated their future, Davie and Adam appeared in the doorway.
"We've got some stuff to show you, Joel,"
said Davie.
"I thought it might be a good way to take a break while they're setting up for the rest of Mom's service."
"He's been dying to show you since you got back,"
said Adam. He handed Joel a key with an amethyst embedded into the handle.
"What does this open?"
asked Joel. Rachel looked at it with curiosity.
"You'll have to follow us to find out,"
said Davie, leading the way outside. Although Joel and Rachel were still exhausted, they felt they had no choice but to follow them.
"Are you growing out your hair like mine was? I knew you were jealous of my luscious curls.
He said, smiling.
But that style is so outdated now."
Davie had chopped off his perm and had begun growing his natural hair. Joel laughed and was glad that Davie was beginning to joke around again. On their way out, Davie and Adam stopped and glanced at the portrait of their grandfather, Saba, who seemed to stare down at them knowingly. They smiled at one another, excited to have gained secret knowledge. Rachel looked at Joel, and he shrugged, oblivious to the situation. Outside, the cool air whipped Rachel's dark hair, making her sorry that she had not grabbed her jacket. She hung closer to Joel. They walked past the columns of the veranda toward the side gate, with Chester following them close behind, his tail wagging. They continued past the labyrinth of wisteria bushes and the massive stone fence with bleeding sheep. By the time they reached the line of evergreens, Joel was just about to ask about their destination. However, Adam bent back the grapevines, revealing the massive stone door with the fancy padlock. Without a word, Joel took the matching amethyst key and unlocked it. Adam pushed the door open, and he and Davie immediately descended the twisted staircase, disappearing down the trapdoor inside. Joel and Rachel started to follow, but stopped short.
"Wait there. It's a little cramped down here,"
said Davie. Before too long, they reappeared and shuffled out a large item covered with a blanket. They set it down and uncovered it with grandeur. It was the treasure chest that Adam had revealed to Davie a couple of nights ago. Joel and Rachel were captivated by the mystery as Adam opened it.
"Adam showed me these bones the night you went to Prism."
Chester began growling at the bones just as before, and Davie gently patted his head to remind him that everything was okay. Joel accepted some gloves from Adam and handled the giant bones with curiosity.
"What in the world?"
said Joel as he handled the large femur and distorted skull with several rows of teeth.
"What kind of creature is this? Did your dad find these on one of his digs, Adam?"
"No, I found them right here in this hole."
he said, pointing down the stairs.
"We can't let this out, though, or the authorities will confiscate them. Dad has confirmed that they are the bones of an ancient giant."
"An ancient giant in your own backyard?"
A new voice asked.
"Like Goliath,"
said a younger voice from behind the door. Davie and Adam both jumped, and Joel's eyebrows raised. It was Caleb and Levi. Chester greeted the familiar faces.
"We thought you had gone home for the rest of your dad's memorial service,"
said Davie. He tried covering up the treasure chest while Adam began gathering the bones. Adam had forgotten how close their cottage was to the side of their vineyard. Martha's farm was only about 50 acres away from this point. They could see the lavender wisteria vines that overhung her trellis from here.
"It didn't last long,"
said Caleb.
"Mom went to lie down for a while and Aunt Martha's in a bad mood. We needed a break, so we decided to walk to our cousin neighbors."
"Don't worry,"
said Levi.
"your secret is safe with us, Adam. Mom has told us a few of our family secrets now that we are back with the rest of our family here in Jerusalem."
"And we don't work for the station anymore, so no worries here,"
said Joel. Adam relaxed.
"What? Why?"
asked Davie.
"We were persecuted for our Christian beliefs. They, as in Judas, believe that the Messiah has made a secret appearance, which goes against Jesus' teachings. Jesus Christ is the Messiah, and his appearance will be immediately obvious to the whole world." Joel reminded Judas of this, but he would not listen,
said Rachel.
"Good for you, Joel. I would never work for someone like that. I can't believe that a Christian station fired you for having Christian beliefs,"
said Davie.
"And after all the work you two have done on the floating city and everything else. Remember that series of reports that he had you do on Luke 16 and local Christians' near-death experiences? A lot of people got saved after watching that. He'll regret getting rid of you."
"For sure,"
said Caleb.
"It seems that most of the action follows our family. Uncle Yosef believes these giants still exist, doesn't he, Adam?"
Adam nodded definitively.
As unbelievable as it sounds, yes. Dad thinks all these tremors are signs of the giants returning.
I knew it.
said Davie.
When that tremor went through and cracked the sealed entrance to the cave, Uncle Yosef got nervous. Instead of checking on the house, he made sure that we sealed up that tunnel right outside this building.
I knew something was happening when I called to say I was going with Rachel to the Prism facility. After the tremor, they were so worried about sealing up that entrance that I almost didn't get through to talk to Dad,
said Joel.
We've heard about ancient superstitions of giants in the caves around here, but we had no idea there was any truth to it.
You mean there are actual live giants in these caves?
said Levi. His eyes grew wide. Adam nodded.
It is like they have been hibernating for centuries, but they are soon to awake if they haven't already.
Rachel shuddered and turned away from the bones. After their experience at Prism and seeing this, she did not want to go underground ever again.
What is this place? Why didn't you show us the other night? We're your cousins too, bro,
said Caleb.
Well, this is Adam's private property,
began Davie defensively. However, Adam held up his hand.
It's okay. We're all in this together. It's all going to come out soon anyway, and I'm tired of all of the fear and secrets,
said Adam.
This is where I first uncovered these bones. Dad built this place over it so the authorities wouldn't steal our work like they did to Saba and the neighbors all those years ago. Let's get this put away before we draw any more attention.
Joel and Rachel looked at one another and knew the danger was far from over. Davie helped Adam carry the treasure chest back downstairs, covered it with its blanket, and tucked it underneath a trap door. Then they came back upstairs and Davie got out his phone.
Here's some information that I found about those giants. When Israel was being resettled after 1948, a local man discovered several large skeletons near this area. However, the authorities confiscated them. Here's a picture of one of them leaked by his relatives.
Davie showed them the photo. It was black and white, showing an average-sized man with a shovel. The exposed skeleton behind him was at least 3 times his size. The others were amazed at how the skull resembled the remains that Davie had uncovered.
You can see it has the same distortion in its skull, almost shaped like a pomegranate with spikes,
said Davie, indicating it in the photo.
There are multiple rows of teeth.
Rachel shivered at the thought of meeting one of these face-to-face.
Look at the young man in the front,
said Joel.
He looks just like a young Dr. Crowning. This picture is too old for it to be him, though,
said Rachel, squinting. They both observed it closer. He looked similar. The same sideways smirk when he attempted to smile was obvious. However, his face was not scarred.
Maybe it's his dad or something,
Let's head back to the house,
said Davie.
I've got some more stuff to show you inside.
That's a good idea,
said Adam.
Although this place is hidden, some of the customers at the vineyard like to show up unexpectedly at times.
They all got up and exited the door. Joel handed Adam the key, and Adam locked it securely, covering the door with grapevines. Once back at the house, Chester took his post outside to guard their property. The rest went inside Joel's room, and Davie plopped down in the computer chair to gather more information.
I've also been researching Prism. I know that you no longer work for the news, but you will want to see this. Just look at this new stuff that pops up about it.
Joel sat down beside Davie and read a few headlines. Prism opens portal to another dimension. Prism's discovery of dark matter and UFOs hover over Prism facility after explosion were just a few of the highlights.
Honestly, most of it sounds pretty bogus to me, Davie.
Said Joel.
But after what we've seen, you may be onto something, especially about the dark matter.
Joel was surprised about some of the sources that upheld these headlines. They were typically reliable. Perhaps this was the same mania that led people like Judas to buy the idea of science being their savior.
Do you think my parents hid aliens in our basement when I was growing up, or what?
Asked Rachel defensively.
Maybe I'm an alien,
she said, fluttering her fingers in front of Davie's face. Rachel suddenly remembered Dr. Crowning putting his hand into the mirror. After she checked the footage on her phone, it was too blurry to tell if it actually happened. Perhaps she was just seeing things, or it was a trick of the light. There were too many other things going on to worry about something that may not have happened, so she had resolved not to say anything about it for now. Not until she knew for sure, especially when Davie was harping on conspiracy theories again. She loved her parents. Despite their preoccupations away from home, she did not want to imagine them being involved with such schemes.
You guys think I'm joking? Well, take a look at this one,
said Davie. He pulled up a picture of the UFO article. It showed glowing objects hovering over the main building where Joel and Rachel had left the day before. On the left side of the UFOs, there was a jagged edge of a different object.
We encountered those same objects the other night while you were gone.
Joel lowered his eyebrows with concern.
He's not joking. We all saw it with our Abbas and Uncle John,
said Adam. Caleb and Levi shook their heads in agreement. Rachel knew they were serious. She fell silent with a sober look on her face.
2 small orbs shot out of a mothership, and they danced around us in the sealed entrance outside before taking off,
said Levi.
Look at that jagged edge to the left of the objects in the picture. Is that what I think it is?
Caleb took over the mouse and zoomed in.
It's the floating city, the same one that we saw back in Indiana.
And in Jerusalem at the Wailing Wall?
Said Rachel.
What?
Said Davie.
It appeared to us again when we were there.
Said Joel.
Why doesn't anybody tell us these things?
Asked Davie, throwing up his hands. Adam and Levi shrugged their shoulders.
I was just about to ask you guys the same thing, bro.
Said Joel.
Adam, have you seen the floating city around here before we came?
Sure, I've seen it before.
What?
They all said to Adam in a chorus.
I mean, some of us have seen this thing. It was shortly before you came, as far as the floating city. We started seeing UFOs shortly after Saba's death last year. As Caleb said, things tend to follow our family around. I had always wondered why Abba had us wear these gemstones. Anyway, I began to understand our situation when I realized that God once communicated to our ancestors through them, even using them in wartime. I haven't talked about it much. When I was younger, I blurted out something about the strange man at school and got made fun of for it. The kids didn't believe me about that man following us, let alone miraculous jewels.
Well, we do,
said Davie.
What else do you know?
I've seen the man with the twisted face before. He tried to capture my mom and me several times since I was little. The last time was when we were at the marketplace, which was very crowded. He put a gun against Mom's back where no one could see and forced us into an alley. Savta, you know, our dad Zima was with us too, only this was before she got sick. Give it to me, he said. I remember his voice. It sounded so distorted and demonic. Mom asked what he wanted, and Savta turned around to fight. She managed to distract him from Mom and kicked the gun out of his hands. When he tried to take Mom's ring, it started to glow and burned his fingers. But when I picked it back up, it was cool. I gave it back to Mom, and Savta tried to fight him off. He hurt Savta by throwing a brick at her head. All of a sudden, stones fell from the archway between the man and us. He was covered with bricks, but he just disappeared without a trace. We had to get an ambulance for Savta. That's why she lost her memories and has to use the wheelchair.
Whoa,
said Davie in amazement.
Why does that man want our jewels so badly? Do they have some other capabilities that we don't know about?
Davie stared at the stones in his watch in wonder. He noticed that Adam's watch was identical to his and Joel's.
I don't know. We usually don't talk about it so that Mom and Savta don't get upset. But now that you're here, how can we not talk about it?
Said Adam. He turned to Caleb and Levi.
Have you guys ever had gems like this in your family?
Not that we know of, but Aunt Martha has always been kind of strange. I'm sure she has many secrets she's not telling us.
Yeah, she and Mom get tense when we talk about the floating city and the man with the twisted face back in Indiana,
said Levi.
At first, I thought it was because of us being upset over Dad's death, but I'm starting to think there's more to it. I've caught them talking about that man more than once, and they always change the subject when I come into the room.
They definitely know more about that man than we do,
said Caleb.
So we know that the man with the twisted face has been terrorizing our family for years. It seems that we have a deep mystery here that goes back for decades, even linking back to ancient times,
said Joel.
The more pieces of this puzzle we have, the easier it will be to solve. So don't keep anything back now, buddy.
Joel patted Adam's back. Davie started moving around and zooming in on the same photo of the UFOs.
Come to think of it, I thought I saw something in the clouds on the flight to Tel Aviv.
Now, who is hiding evidence?
Asked Joel.
Well, I wasn't sure at the time,
said Davie.
Adam, what about Savta? How often does she, have times where she remembers things like she did today?
When I was younger, she had only a few moments where she seemed forgetful. She got worse after Saba's death. We used to be close, but after that man attacked, she got to where she didn't know me at all,
said Adam.
That's so sad, Adam. I'm sorry to hear that. It must be so hard for you,
said Rachel.
I've kinda gotten used to it, but I wish that she could get better.
For some reason, I don't know. Did she teach us sword fighting? Didn't we come here before?
Asked Joel.
Yes, she did.
Davie and Adam said simultaneously. They looked surprised at one another and laughed.
You had that blue ball, remember?
Said Davie.
Yeah, I remember. We were hitting it back and forth with our shields, and then we had to climb downstairs to get it.
Said Adam. He paused.
And then
our parents and Savta saved us while Saba sealed the door shut.
Said Joel.
So it's not just a nightmare that you had. It's your memories.
Said Rachel.
Something else happened here years ago, other than the family feud.
Yeah, and there was ice on the ground and screaming. I remember it all. Grandfather closed it off, whatever it was.
Said Davie.
I wish Savta had her memory back. We could ask her more about it all.
Said Joel. Adam nodded in agreement.
Look at this, guys.
Said Davie. He had zoomed in on the bottom edge of the photo. Here they could see faint figures at the entrance of the building, which looked tiny compared to the UFOs at the top.
Is that your mom, Rachel?
Rachel squinted and looked closely.
I think so.
What is she doing? Doesn't she even notice what's happening?
Asked Levi.
It's probably a fake photo pieced together, you guys. Maybe AI generated.
Rachel said nervously.
It seems like she's talking with someone inside the door, but I can't make it out.
Huh. We should show your mom the next time we see her.
Said Davie.
I do not think that's a good idea, Davie.
Said Rachel.
She gets really defensive about stories like this about their work. Let me handle it. Maybe I can figure out if there is anything to this.
Rachel, I'm sorry, we would not want to offend your parents.
Said Joel.
No, it's fine. I have seen and heard enough to be curious about a few things myself. But I should be the one to look into it.
Rachel snapped a picture of the photo with her phone. Then her phone began to vibrate.
In fact, she's calling me right now.
She said as she walked outside the door. Joel brought out his camera.
I didn't even get to show you this part.
He rolled it back to the footage at the Wailing Wall. Davie and Adam watched in amazement as the camera picked up the city in the clouds and the man with the twisted face after the earthquake.
Wait, go back to that man,
said Adam. They all observed as Joel rolled it back and zoomed in.
Yes, that is the same man that's been following us all these years.
Look at his finger,
said Davie.
He has another one of those rings.
You're right.
Said Caleb.
Only
Caleb squinted.
it's a different color. It looks dark, even though it's glowing.
It looks like the same onyx stone to me,
said Rachel as she walked back in.
The same one on the mirror.
Joel zoomed in.
There's only one word inscribed, though. It looks like the ancient Hebrew writing for Joseph.
The onyx stone for Joseph's tribe, maybe? You know, the one for the priestly breastplate that Dad talked about?
Asked Davie. Joel rewound the footage to get a better view. He let it play again as they all crowded around the screen. The ground begins shaking. Joel drops the camera. Panicked people are praying. Dark clouds appear. The jagged city flashes in the sky. Rachel is in the foreground. The man with the twisted face is behind Rachel and her parents. His dark ring begins glowing.
Wait, who's that?
Asked Adam. A lady was struggling behind the man with the twisted face. Joel paused the video as everyone drew in for a closer look. Her hands and feet were restrained, and several people dressed in dark suits surrounded her, shielding her from view. It was only a fraction of a second when they could see her face. What they saw, or rather whom they saw, was impossible. Davie's eyes grew wide with excitement, then his voice broke.
Mom?
The boys and Rachel looked at one another and scrambled into the living room.
Dad!
Joel and Davie yelled in a chorus.
What is it? What's going on?
Asked Daniel, rushing over toward them.
Dad, it's Mom!
Yelled Davie. Daniel was perplexed.
Call off the rest of the memorial service, Dad.
Said Joel. He felt like his heart was about to leap out of his chest.
You are not going to believe this, but Mom is alive!
What?
Daniel could not believe his eyes as they raced back to Joel's room and crowded around the screen. His wife, the love of his life, was not only alive, but also kidnapped by a maniac. The man with the twisted face seemed to smile at him through the screen. Daniel felt an extreme wave of emotion.
She is alive!
His hands covered his mouth. How could he have let this happen? His blood began surging hot. He raised up in a fury, looking more severe than his boys had ever seen.
Get ready, boys! With God's help in the name of Yeshua, we will save your mother